Hello, good afternoon. It's Sunday here, and we are at the Twitter account of Nicole Saphier, MD. Well, I'm one of those people who works with inspiration, and I believe in spontaneity. But alongside spontaneity, there is a logical reason why I'm back at this account. So you'll see the reason why. Well, who is Nicole Saphier, MD? She tells in her profile NYC slash NJ physician, mom of three, married to a neurosurgeon. Opinions are mine only. Best-selling author. There's a website that you can visit. I'll actually put the link to her Twitter account and her website in this video. And this is her book, Panic Attack: Playing Politics with Science in the Fight Against COVID-19. Interesting subject. I have not read this book, so I'm in no position to comment one way or another about it. But coming to the reason why I visited this account, well, why not look at something I did miss? Maybe I should retweet this too, because this does look interesting. Morning coffee. Did you know coffee is healthy for you? It can boost energy, lower the risk of diabetes, liver disease, support brain/heart health, increase longevity. If you like coffee, take a few minutes, relax your mind, and enjoy your coffee. Your body may thank you for it. And is that her? It looks like her. Well, here is a gesture of goodwill. Thank you, Nicole. Good advice. Of course, even with a simple thing like coffee, people could go overboard, and instead of one cup of coffee, there could be several cups of coffee, as the case is with some people throughout the day. I'm not one of them, though. All right. Now, why did I think of Nicole Saphier? Now, this was yesterday, and you'll see immediately why we are at her Twitter account, or why I am at her Twitter account. So she said yesterday, it's time for Doctors Fauci and Walensky to step down from their decision-making positions as a result of their obvious pliability to external political influence during the COVID-19 pandemic. All right. This is what I had to say. What I have a hard time with is the focus on Fauci, Walensky, or other bureaucrats. They aren't independent actors nor the arbiters of the international practice of medicine. They're not consulted personally to practice medicine in thousands of centers across disciplines. And that is the truth. And I recommended one of my own videos. I'll show you something funny as soon as I read the caption here. Here's an excellent example. I'm actually really impressed with this study, and it yields no benefit to pharmaceutical companies to conduct it or find these positive results. COVID-19, natural immunity. That's what this study, this clinical trial was all about. Now, I did get a reply. It's somehow hidden. I'll show you what that is. Don Harris had this to say. I'll have to find the article only because that guy talked way too slow. Got the basic gist though. Thank you. Well, that guy is making the video right now, and he made that video too. Yeah, he does talk too slow for some people. So, I did respond to Dawn. I told her, hey Dawn, I'll let him know he talks slow. Here's an article if you're still looking. And this is the article that came in Reuters Health. So, that interaction was 13 hours ago. Excuse me. And I slept very well, got up in the morning, was doing my stuff on Twitter. And then I thought about Nicole Saphier. It just came to mind. It happens when you interact with someone, then you think about them again. And if you interact with someone over a long time, you think about them quite often. It happens. It's quite natural. So, this is her pinned tweet. This is what she's determined to get across as her message. She says, I'm not sure who needs to hear this, but opposing vaccine mandates is not equivalent to opposing vaccines. And she has not specified whether it's the mRNA vaccines or it's just the vaccines for COVID-19, but evidently this would be the case. We'll learn more about what is said and what is not said. And I want to show you that Twitter can be such an interesting place because you have the feedback from people. Everybody's not intelligent, everybody's not thoughtful. And some people make comments which do not contribute in any positive way to a healthy conversation. But it is a place, it is a platform where people communicate. So this is something I left as a response just 15 minutes ago, and then I thought I'll make this video. So this is what I had to say. I don't know if you think this is intelligent, but I was thoughtful when I wrote this. One could suppose this statement comes from someone who assumes that people will be wise enough to research, be fair-minded, and be judicious when it comes to making a decision for themselves. And a little smiley face. That could be true for some people, but it proves to be untrue for many as well. Now let's go through a few responses. I'm not going to bother commenting on every response, but it gives you an idea about how Twitter organizes responses, and that's one thing, but also the contribution that public discussion makes. So, Mike Alexander, ML Alex 43, had this to say. But if you are for the vaccine, why aren't you also for the mandates? Mandates work. And the vaccines will only work as intended, which is to help us get to herd immunity, assuming it's not too late if enough people take it. Making it a personal choice defeats the purpose. This is not something I would have thought of saying. But then that's Mike, that's not me. My emphasis is strictly personal. And Mike's response is strictly social, strictly public. So you see there are two very different viewpoints here. And whether Mike has been agreed with or not, you can go through the responses on your own and you'll find out. Sarah Directby. I didn't need to, as I agree, but it needs to be said by people like you. For me, the question is, in the USA, do vaccine mandates discourage many people from getting vaccinated who would try vaccination if they felt it was their choice? The psychology in Europe is different. Now, this is an intelligent response. Um, why it's intelligent, I'll tell you. Because this person, this lady, Sarah, has used her understanding to make a comparison and an understanding based on how many people think. It's a very insightful comment. Now, you could say I'm biased when I'm making this judgment, but I'm just telling you my view. Interesting comment. I do like this response. You can see I'm doing it all in real time. Rob Bodwell, Nerd Mafia 69. Well, I don't know about the image and the name this person has taken on, but in real life, this person could be very different. I'm sure he doesn't look like this. All right. Isn't there a mandate for vaccinations now for children to go to school? I sure as hell had to be as well as my 3 kids. Where is the outrage there? Outrage there. You're a doctor, I take it? How do you protect everybody from an airborne disease knowing that every breath taken by an infected person puts everybody around them at risk of infection with a possibility of death? What do you tell your patients? Well, again, I'm not going to comment on the specifics, but this does make me think about one thing. I'll make an observation here. I've seen that when people talk about the general public, they have very different ideas of what the general public is like. Now, I'll make this point, and it's very important to understand this, where it's coming from. I've seen a lot of people talk about natural immunity. And if you look carefully, you get the impression that these people have assumed that the general public is in good health and COVID-19 does not pose a risk to the general public. And then they have statistics to back that up, and there is a focus on symptoms. When they talk about young people, the automatic assumption is that young people are healthy, or people in general are in good health. And this view can also come from those who want to believe they are in better health than they are actually, well, for whatever reasons. And then there's another set of people who fear the worst, who think there's death and destruction all around, and this pandemic would, and the vaccination would wipe out billions of people. Now, I've seen people pick statistics based on their biases. But one thing that should be clear by now is that the virus, the SARS-CoV-2 virus, at this earlier stage of the pandemic, remember it started in 2019, and we're still facing the mutations, the early stages of the mutations. I might as well mention this here. There was a piece of misinformation that went around that once a virus starts to mutate, it always becomes less dangerous. So there's a lowering of pathogenicity, and there is an accompanying increase in transmissibility. And this got traction in the vaccine skeptic circle, which is a huge circle. Why they became vaccine skeptics, even those who are doctors, those are interesting reasons for that. But I think this lady, Sarah, has touched on it already, that the vaccine mandates could have, in the USA, especially because the culture there was actually the discouraging factor for many people. Uh, of course, there was misinformation about mRNA vaccines, which was the predominant choice of the US government and federal agencies like the FDA. And alongside that misinformation that was gladly or more keenly accepted in the vaccine skeptic or the anti-vaccination group, mandates certainly came into the picture. People in the government thought they would push harder and people would back down. And those people became even more determined. Now, if the government had communicated in a comparison, understanding the culture that is in the USA, that there is no doubt that getting infected poses a bigger risk than getting vaccinated. And that would have been the focus of the government at the federal and at the state level. Things could have been different. Now, also, if there wasn't such a push to convince people of the great danger from COVID-19 to all the people, so much so that everything needed to be locked down and there needed to be mandates that would have made a difference. There were people who were not ready to be afraid. They said, why should we be afraid of this virus? Is this the first pathogen to come out into the environment? Aren't there other viruses that provably have been far more dangerous? So this pandemic response is a study in human behavior, no doubt about that. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, there is no perfect answer. Because even when you talk about the USA, you have to look at the demographics and the specifics of each state. It would be wrong to compare one state with another state. And there are not one, but multiple reasons why that is. The best thing, the best of all worlds, is to have qualified medical professionals on the ground at the local level, because that is where treatment happens. They have to be competent, they have to be knowledgeable. And in this day and age, it is possible for doctors at the local level to be well informed and connected with what is being discovered at the international and, of course, at the federal level. Agencies like the FDA or the NIH are not just American institutions. For a very long time, these are international bodies where knowledge is contributed to through collaboration internationally. And if you look at the clinical trials which are conducted, there's such a vast amount of information that is coming in. If you're interested, just search for hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin, just these two, and you see how many clinical trials happened in the span of 1 year, and how the understanding of the federal agencies changed in that period of time. And still there are places from where results are coming in for these trials. For ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, I mention these two names because these are the favorite names that you hear of. Well, maybe I took a distraction, very lengthy detour from what Nicole Saphier had to say, but that is, I would say, the drawback of Twitter. Could I have said all this to Nicole in a tweet? Impossible. But when important decisions are made, they cannot be explained in a tweet. Never. Never. But important things can be said in a tweet. Let's look at a couple of other responses here. Tell that to my unvaccinated boss who is planning to get a fake vaccine record so she can go to a hockey game. She already goes to multiple bars and restaurants 3+ times a week with no mask. When the government comes out with a mandate, can they factor such a concern, such a response into their decision making? If the government started to get that specific, I think the excuse me, got me laughing. I think the government would do nothing if it started to address every individual concern. This lady works in an office. Even her boss cannot satisfyingly address her concern, her observation. And anecdotal as this may be, if it is true, it's a legitimate concern. So a person in this kind of a mindset and is receiving instructions or mandates from the federal government, how do you think there would ever be a reconciliation when it's difficult to achieve, even with a boss and a few employees? How do you think that's going to happen? So the world appears a lot more complicated when you think about it. Frank Newville says, it is like saying opposing laws against murder is not equivalent to opposing murder. Wow, here's another example. And I did like this response. I saw this earlier, October 18, 2021, by Christo, let's just call him Christo with a bunch of digits. And who is Christophorus? Aspiring super trucker, PhD in blue collar studies. All right. I'm vaxxed, but it's none of my business who else is or is not or wants to or not. We all just need to mind our own biz. Kind of a wisdom there, isn't there? So now, I have my eye on the clock. It's 25 minutes and plenty of understanding. And just imagine if this video that I've made could go to, well, it can. It can go to the NIH. It can go to the FDA. It can go to any of the health agencies. I call them health agencies, but well, let's just call them federal agencies in charge of overlooking diseases and medicines. Health seems to have gone into a different direction. So maybe they will someday see this video. Maybe Nicole will someday see this video because she is, of course, mentioned here. And here I'm going to conclude the video. There was so much to learn, and I have nothing else to say. I've spent a good amount of time here. I've made this video. I'll upload it, and hopefully this will provide some kind of learning. It has for me. It'll be hopefully of benefit to others who watch it. So thank you for your time. It's Sunday afternoon. I'm going to enjoy myself. Take it easy, and I'll see you another time. Goodbye and take care.